Well, I love beer, so the first stop that we have here at Potosi Brewery has to be in the tasting room. I'm here with Robert Cousins. He's the Director of Hospitality, and he's going to be very hospitable as we try some different beers here. Robert, thanks for having us in.
Hey, thank you for coming down. I'd like any excuse to talk about beer and to drink some.
That's great. Before we go any further, let's jump right in. Let's have a beer. Let's have a good old Potosi.
Okay.
So tell me about good old Potosi.
Good old Potosi, when we reopened in 2008, the original recipe for Potosi beer is gone.
Really?
So it was lost somehow in 72 when the brewery shut down. There's varying stories as to why it's gone. But when we opened, we wanted to brew something that was very similar to what the original recipe was. We did a lot of taste testing with a lot of people that can remember 20, how many ever, from 72 to 2006 when we started doing the tasting, or 2004 when we started doing the tasting. It's a lot of years to try to remember what a beer tastes like.
That's interesting.
But this was the beer that won. This was the beer that everybody said, out of all of them, they thought this tasted more like it. So
that's great. I love it. I get it all the time because it's a nice, light, it's crisp, it's got just a little bit of citrus or something in there, but it's not too much. I love it.
It's a drinking beer. It's not one of those that fills you up. It's not one of those that you sit there and go, oh, I had one. This is one that you can sit there and have a couple and watch a game, or
right.
Or sit down and at a bar with some friends.
Oh man, I love that good old Potosi flavor. So you guys brew here on campus.
Mm-hmm.
We got the brewery right behind us. Tell me a little bit about that operation.
Well, it's really interesting. We're one of the few, if not the only, production brewery that's a not-for-profit. There's a lot of not-for-profits that have they brew their own stuff and they pour in their tap room, but we actually produce about 16,000 barrels a year.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for
it's a little footprint.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You're not just a brew pub. It is a full production line.
And we are through Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin.
Wow.
So, when we first started, we did a little bit of brewing. We have a mini brewery in the museum upstairs that we actually use for small batch. But we did a little brewing in the brew pub. The rest of it we contracted out.
Sure.
When we looked at what we were doing, one of the things we were missing was the water. Mm-hmm. The water was very instrumental in the reason why the Potosi Brewery was put here to begin with.
Right.
And the beer tasted different because it wasn't using that spring water.
Sure.
So the other thing was we wanted to bring jobs back to the area. So we built a production facility for ourselves. It's been running for a couple of years now. Brought a lot of jobs back to the community, and we noticed the beer tasted different because we went back to the basics. That one of the three things that we were built here in the 1852. So
that's great, man. I love this good old Potosi. But let's try something a little bit different. Now I see that you got this Sun Prairie Strong. What do you got there?
Sun Prairie Strong is something that we are really proud of because it's something that. It was a unique thing for us to do. Sun Prairie had the devastating natural gas explosion that affected Captain Barr. He lost his life, plus a bunch of other people lost their businesses. It was really affected by the tragedy. So we got together with Wisconsin distributors and a couple of people in Sun Prairie, and we private labeled a beer for them called #Sun Prairie Strong. And we distributed it exclusively in Sun Prairie, and made it so that they could have a contribution giving back to the the Fireman's Fund, helping rebuild Captain Barr's family. Our bottom line is to be as efficient and profitable as possible because the more profit we do, the more we can help people.
Right.
So when we can get more visibility in the communities and we can get more Potosi in people's homes, that means we can do more charitable things. We can give to cancer research. We can, do a scholarship fund at the University of Wisconsin. We can do, help the Boy Scouts.
Right.
All these really cool things that are much more than just beer. Yeah. Plus, it's a really good excuse to buy beer.
Oh man, this Sun Prairie Strong. That's pretty good.
Well, we did this specific Pilsner because Corey Barr's favorite beer was Pilsner.
Okay.
So this was his favorite kind of beer. So
light and crisp.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into maybe something a little bit more craft beery.
Okay.
I guess let's go with the Snake Hollow IPA.
Okay.
Yeah, when you guys started back in 2008, craft beer has progressed quite a bit. since that time. I mean, what do you think about Potosi's role in that small beer market these days?
Well, one of the things that, I mean, we brew a good product. We brew a good product that is people like. It's not so extreme with flavors and ingredients that it's a narrow market that drinks it, but it is fresh and great tasting enough that it's beyond your average, 30 rack of beer kind of thing.
Right.
So it kind of meets in the middle for that, where it's the really good craft beer. It's a little bit of history, been around since 1852, and it's approachable.
But this is a great beer. I love this one.
I have something specifically I want to make sure we try before you get out of here too.
Lay it on me.
All right, and I'm going to give you the smaller version of it.
Okay.
And the reason why I want you to try this, because I haven't even tried this yet.
Really?
This is something we did for our 10-year anniversary. It's a harvest ale, so we did this with fresh Wisconsin hops.
Fresh
We
Wisconsin
brewed it exclusively for the 10-year anniversary. It's only available here.
You guys, you guys do local. You do
Yeah.
local.
Dude, that's delicious.
That's
Oh
good.
my gosh. And like I said, I'm no BS. This is my first time actually tasting this. So.
It's almost creamy. It's got
Yeah, that's a good tasting beer.
that is, huh? Yeah, it's almost like, almost like drinking a Cadbury egg, but not sweet. That's a very harvest ale.
Mm-hmm.
10 years. That's great. But this place has a lot more history, and I'm gonna go find out a little bit more about it. Robert, thanks a lot. We'll be back later.
All right, awesome. Thank you.